Welcome to Creating Dynamic Ministry Online. My name is Chrystal Evans Hurst, and I'm excited to join you tonight to say hello on behalf of my mom and her heart for pastors' wives and the ministry that for years and years and years she labored for, prayed for, worked for. And so when my dad asked me to help continue the work that she started, I was, of course, willing to do that. And one of the things I said to him was, Dad, the thing is, I'm not a pastor's wife. I'm not exactly sure what you want me to do because I'm not a pastor's wife. And he kind of looked at me and said, but you're a pastor's daughter. So there are some things that you know about, know of, simply because you've been in our home, watching and listening and learning. And that's true. I want to also tell you that one of the things that, as you know, with our mom passing, of course, the grieving process is real and strong and long. But one of the things that I have said many, many times is, just feeling her passing being so early, healthy woman whose people live a long time. And so for her as a healthy woman to pass away at the time that she did, it was tough and still is tough because I thought we would have more time. And one of the reasons I wanted more time with her is to dote on her a little bit. It takes a little bit of time before you kind of get your bearings, before your kids get older, before you have the bandwidth to linger a long time with your mom, whether it be shopping or in the kitchen or just talking. And so while we spent a lot of time together, I thought I finally entered the season where I have the bandwidth and the time to dote on her, like for years that she's doted on me. And so man, I was like, man, I lost those years. I lost those years, even though we had plenty of time together. I lost those years where I would have had the bandwidth and the time and also the money, like to take her out and to treat her to a meal and for her not to always have to treat me to a meal because I was able to, to take care of things. So I did think, and it brought me to tears one day, that the love that I have for her and the way that I wanted to dote on her and serve her is a way that we can continue to serve you. Many of you know that when she passed away, the rush was to think about, man, how can we serve pastors' wives, because she was passionate. We didn't want to give money to a kidney fund or to a cancer fund because those things are great. But really, what was she passionate about? And what she was passionate about was you. And that's why many of you receive flowers from people in your congregation, because we know that that's what she would have wanted, is to dote on you. So what we're doing tonight is a little bit of that, but in a practical way to equip you in this season that you're in as pastors' wives, amongst the many things you are already doing, taking care of your husband, serving your families, being available to the women of your church, maybe pastoral responsibilities even that you have. Now you're also the media person and the sound person and the lighting person. You may be running a Bible study online for the first time or trying to figure out how to do that. You may be using technology that you've never used before. And like always, many of you are everything that you put your hands on to do what needs to be done, you want to do it well. And you want to create an engaging experience when you're in the church house, but also when you're not. And right now, none of us are in our church houses if we've got more than 10 people that are in our church. But we still want to provide an experience for the people in our church, the ministry that needs to continue to happen, and to provide the community that we all need, especially at this time. And so I wanted to come on here tonight with Mrs. Cledra Gross and talk about some ways that you can create a dynamic ministry online, and some ways that you can be tooled and equipped to do what you need to do to serve not only your church family well, but to walk alongside your husband right now as he's seeking probably to do things in a new season. Here's what I want you to know. Whatever you don't know, you can learn. Whatever you've never done, you can start doing. And what you don't do well the first time, you will get better at the second, third, fourth, and fifth time. So whatever your apprehensions are about being able to serve others well in this season, just know you can. That's what I want you to know, you can. I want to introduce Ms. Cledra to you tonight. She is a minister, and she says she's the wife of the love of her life, Bishop Eddie. She is an author, speaker, and the CEO of Step Into Freedom, where she helps women harness the power of biblical truth to create and transform their lives. She's been serving women through online ministry for the last 10 years, and she's here tonight to help us understand how we can create dynamic, engaging, and connective ministry online. And so what I'm going to do now is in cooperation, hopefully the technology will cooperate with me, because all I need to do is press one button. Let's see here. One button, and she should be able to join me. All right, here we go. All right, there we go. I think you can be seen now.
All right.
Welcome, and thank you for joining me. I want to know, before we even launch into some practical help for the women who are here tonight, when you say you've been serving women through online ministry for 10 years, what does that mean? What kind of ministry online, and what have you been using technology to do to help you connect?
For me, what it's meant, I came online a decade ago because it was too painful to do things offline. The irony of it. I was
Mm,
actually coming out of a divorce and had lost my only baby. So it was a real hard time. So it
mm,
was the only way I could socialize. So I get, how powerful being able to get a word online can be. And so what that means is I meet women in that space of emotional honesty because so many of us have mastered emotional dishonesty.
mm.
You know, we are always blessed, highly flavored. We believe in the Lord. And what I know is that you can, what I know is that you can look great and be really broken.
Hmm.
Um, and so my heart space is for women and a place, a container where they can just be honest.
Yeah,
Because sometimes as leaders, you can't have that safe space to be honest. And so,
yeah, I
yeah,
love
and
that.
since I got married and, God changed the story, but, similar to you, but different circumstances, life didn't go any way like I thought. Um,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
the difficult seasons.
So you were doing it to have online ministry because in-person ministry was too painful. And then here we are with that being something that you have been developed in over time that now allows you to help other women who need to do it, who really haven't wanted to do it for,
Right.
not everybody, but some. I mean, we know some have been like, I don't want to fool with all of that. And so
Right.
here we are, and this is the only way that we have, besides a telephone call, to really connect, and certainly to connect face to face. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, how is online ministry different than in-person ministry? I mean, you talk about you doing it because you were not wanting to do it in person, but I know that now you're doing both. And so if you had to characterize what the difference is, how would you characterize that?
The thing that you can't do is take exactly what you were doing offline and try to replicate it online. That's why I wanted to come on because the attention span, the environment which you're competing with is very different. And so you have to be really strategic about what message do I really want to relay and how does it help the person I'm talking to. It's all about solving a pain. And the faster you can let them know that by listening to you, you're going to help them, the more engaged they're going to be. So the thing that we can't do, like on Sundays, we stand up in front of a lot of people and we say, welcome everyone. Well, that doesn't work online. You have to speak as if you're talking to one. So it's an intimate experience, and you have to be in your mind thinking of one woman when you come online so
Yeah.
that she can feel you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's really good. Because we do,
Mhm.
I think in church, there's sometimes I call it the rah rah effect. You're coming in and there's the 200 people or the 1,200 people or the 35 people or the 2,000 people. And there's this room dynamic that you're trying to manage in a Bible study or on a Wednesday night or on a Sunday morning. But when you're online, you don't have that dynamic. The dynamic is totally different. What kind of specific mistakes do you see people making as they're coming online for the first time? Like if they're doing things for that large group or for that group of women and not speaking to the one, like what does that look like in this season that you're seeing people doing it left and right, I'm sure.
Right. The big one of the biggest mistakes is to just push content. We know the word and we want to spread the word. And so we have a habit of pushing content. And what I mean by that is, in offline, we spread the message and you're expecting the person to just sit and listen. And there's not an interchange. So you can't have a monologue. You have to stop and say, you know what, give me a 7 if you completely understand what I just said, so that you engage them. Because just the mind online is so distracted. I mean, we know in church sometimes they're on Facebook. So,
True.
so you have to like say, I'll use something like that. Give me a 7 if you completely got what I just said. So that you don't just talk and say, okay, thanks for coming. Join us next week. You cannot do that.
Okay, I think that's interesting. I mean, this is a little side turn, but why a 7 instead of a thumbs up? I'm sure there's a reason for that.
I said 7 because it's completion.
Okay.
A 7, something. The point, whether you do a thumbs up or sometimes I'll say a B if you got value. The point is to interrupt your talking and engage them.
Yes. That's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
You have to. Right.
So what are there any other mistakes besides the not engaging that you see people making right now?
The join us at 11, no one, okay, why? So you need to have an outcome as opposed to just come, because like you just said, we don't have someone ushering them into worship. We don't have the flags and we don't have all of that. And so when I'm scrolling and I see join you at 11, there's nothing compelling about that.
Yeah.
And so it's women who their kids are driving them nuts. See you at 11. So something that addresses my pain. And that's the other thing, Chrystal. It's like you can't address everything. And so I recommend that women, be who you are. You said it so well. Be yourself. And so I always recommend that you champion, pain points that you're passionate about. Like I'm passionate about your place of having truth. And so whatever you're passionate about, or working out, I like to work out, I like to read. So whatever that is, you need to operate in that space so it just feels natural, because that's just who you are anyway.
Yeah.
Unlike an offline where we have all these things you're addressing, you just cannot possibly address everything online.
So with you, when you're doing your ministry online right now and you're engaging with the women, what have you been doing at your church right now? Like when y'all had to jump online, were y'all already online? I guess that's a question. Were y'all doing anything online? And then what changed with this change in our global society?
So it's amazing how God set this whole thing up. So in October, my husband resigned from the church that he was at, and prior to that, our church closed. So we've been online for a while. So what I'm doing in this current season is I come online every morning at 8:28. Why 8:28? Because Romans 8:28.
Okay.
And so 8:28 a.m., I come online and I say, this is our time, me and you. I literally say that. Not, hey, y'all, hey, everybody. Me and you, to remind us of the promise that all things are working together for our good.
Now, this is the 8:28 is the COVID-19, or you were doing 8:28 beforehand?
No, COVID-19.
Okay, so that's the specific thing for this. Okay.
Right. That's just an example. Now they can remember it. It's tied to the word. It's simple because people are juggling so much. So that's the other thing. You want to have a strategy, whether it's coming on at a specific time or addressing a specific issue. You don't want to be broad. Like in church, we have the privilege of being broad because they're going to come back and we can take them deeper.
Yes.
But you want to be so strategic and laser focused that you not only present an issue, like the issue I'm presenting is, how is this all going to work? It's so much uncertainty. So I'm saying, Let's commit to believing Romans 8:28. Can we just do that one thing?
Yeah, that's good.
It's one thing.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you had to say, you've kind of talked about it a little bit because you've talked about the common mistakes that people are making. You said we need to make sure we're engaging, and we need to make sure we are being clear about not just that you can join me, but when you join me, what are you going to get? What is the pain point, and then what's the promise? So, apart from those two things, are there any other specific tips that for those who are getting online? I actually see Kalisha Kelly. She's saying, I want to put her on the screen here, her question. She's saying, I'm nervous to go live to talk with people because I like to hear others commenting back. So, how were you able to jump over that hurdle? So, I mean, I think that's an interesting question simply because you were doing in person ministry that wasn't working. So, you went to offline ministry, but you still had to deal with people. So, were there any hurdles? Because really, whatever the hurdle is, talking in front of a group or being nervous about the technology, how did you get over the hurdle? How did you get over the hurdle of nervousness or lack of knowledge or whatever the case may be?
Again, my sweet spot is emotional honesty. So I'm not for acting like you're not nervous. Say it. Hello, ladies. I'm nervous as I don't know what, but I'm committed to the gospel. And today, I don't know how this is going to come out, but this is what I have to share with you. People online can respect authenticity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unlike offline, it's like the flash and all that. That just doesn't work online. Actually, there's more engagement with people who are not so polished and buttoned up because can't we all relate to a woman who just says, you know what, I'm nervous, but I'm moving forward. That I would watch her.
Yeah. 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 That's good.
So I don't think you have to get over to move forward. I think you can carry it
That's great. That's great. That's
and be
actually
honest.
a great quote. You don't have to get over to move forward. That's awesome. Oh,
No,
that's good. That's good.
no.
Well, I love this. Miss Meredith Shepherd, I'm going to pull her comment on the screen. She said, I'm nervous, but I'm committed. And that's really all you have to be. I think one of the crucial things is, knowing your why. Why are you there? Because don't you think if you know what you're passionate about, if you know who you're serving or why you want to serve them, then that's a part of getting over your own hurdle. You know what I mean? Don't you think?
I think so. And I'd like to reframe the nervousness to say that that's just a sign that you're committed to X.
That's great.
And so you're doing something new. I think if you're not nervous, it's wrong. So, you're doing something, you respect that this is God's word. You want to do it in excellence and you recognize I'm a beginner. And that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. I have a little acronym, if it's okay, Chris, I'll read it, that help women. It's saved. So if the ladies want to write this down to help you with like topics. So I use the acronym SAVED. And so you want to go with your skills to remember, how has God uniquely gifted you? What are your natural skills? You have them and online doesn't take them away. Okay. The A, activities you enjoy. For those of you, we had a smaller ministry, so I was the face of the women's ministry. So I believe in, people love to be around people they can connect with. So share what you enjoy. So list your activities. The V, your values. For me, God first, taking care of my husband. I'm very traditional, so I'm out there about my values. E, being efficient, that we are going to be in and out. I don't have long Facebook lives. And then the D is just remembering that this is all to create disciples. And that's the saved acronym that I keep in mind when I'm online. I just got to be who I'm gifted to be, share what I enjoy, keep my values in the forefront, be efficient about it. And remember, it's all about being a disciple and adding more disciples to the role. It's not about me. I can totally blow it. And God can work that thing out where people still say, oh, that was great.
It's true. It's very true. Sometimes the things that we think were the most not prepared, the things where we bumbled the most over our words, the thing where we're not sure that our points were clear or that our illustrations drove the point home, sometimes those are the ones where people are like, that was such a blessing. And I'm like, was it?
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, that's
So,
good. Well, now you just mentioned something about you're not on long. Talk about what we need to keep in mind when we are doing ministry online in terms of time. Does time matter? Do we need to think about time differently online than we do in person?
yes, and I pulled some stats for you so you could really get this, wrap your mind around this. So check this out. Every 1 minute, a half a million comments are on Facebook. Okay.
Wish.
Every
Wow.
second, five new profiles are being created. So the pace is fast. And the average time that someone spends total is 20 minutes. And they're not going to give me or you all of those 20.
No, they're not. They're
No.
skipping and jumping. And don't you
They're
think
skipping.
too that beyond that, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they're giving them things to jump to. Those are highly distracting platforms. They're high distraction.
Right, which is why I said at the top of this, you have to solve something for them. You know, pushing a lot of inspirational quotes, those kinds of things, you're going to get the blur. You have to dig a little deeper and solve something for them.
So with somebody who's wanting to take their Bible study online, and really what they've been doing is studying the Bible. How do you take the Bible study? We were just doing our Bible study. We were just going through our Bible study. How do you take that and flip it into solving a problem if the ministry has been we're studying the Bible? That's what we were meeting to do. How do you even begin to create, or to think about things in terms of a problem if what you were doing before wasn't solving a problem? You were just gathering to study God's word.
Oh, now I think God's word does solve problems. You know, I got my favorite commentary here. I think I think it does. I just think every when we think about studying the word, all of it is to convict us in some way to move to the next version of ourselves. All of it. So it's always solving a problem. It's just depending on the severity of the pain, right? Right now, we all have that pain of uncertainty, that pain of disruption. Some of us have the pain of grief. And so, but pain for the individual, which is why I'm saying you talk to the one, for that individual, it's just pain.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, we don't compete. You know, you do have people who are, oh, you think you got it bad, I got it even worse. You know, they have these misery conditions, right? But for the individual woman, I hurt, you know. And so the word of God does solve the pain. So it's going deeper, if it's, for example, judges. And so it's a cycle of being disobedient. That's solving the pain of us not committing and having the fruit of self-control, for example. So it's dropping a little deeper and saying, like, what is the Lord really saying to us now in this book of the Bible, where it's really a living word for right now?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I have no doubt that you can answer that, no matter what book you're studying in the Bible.
Yeah. And I love that. I think when you do study the Bible, looking for what am I learning? What is this teaching me? And if I learn this lesson, what problem or difficulty or consequence am I avoiding? How am I avoiding it? That's if nothing else, obedience to God's word gives us life, abundant life. And so, if it's not abundant, how does this scripture, how does this passage help solve that? Are there any
Right.
specific software programs or tools that you recommend?
Yes, I do. I recommend a scheduler. And so if you are going to do like the inspirations or the scriptures, the scheduler that I like is called Cinch Share, and it's like $10.
Spell
It's
that. Spell that.
CINCH
Okay.
Share, but
Okay.
all one word.
Okay.
That's a very reasonable one. And know that if you create a group, this is the second thing that I recommend that you all do. In the short term, you could create what's called a pop-up group where you have, this is our container as a church community for this lock-in. Make it hyper focused just for this time and the issues that people are dealing with, especially women in this time. So that's the second thing. I would bring your people into a space where you have a captive audience.
Okay.
So that's like bringing them into a classroom, online. The third thing is to upgrade your lighting, and that's pretty reasonable as well. I
Mm-hmm.
can put a link in the group of the lights that we use and to help you, no matter what time of the day, so that you don't have to use like, okay, it's a certain time and I can't do it. So you need great lighting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
But
and
let me
and
pause right there. If people don't have lights, what are the best times of the day, and what can you do with the light that you have, the light from outside?
perfect. So what you can do is, and I do this. I did this when I first started. There's a window right in front across from me. So you want to use just God's light, and you want to do like high noon, and you could do noonday chat, and put your face right in front. Sit right in front of that window with the camera, you facing the window, and that's going to give you great lighting. Great
Mm-hmm.
lighting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's
Just
awesome.
naturally. Another tip, when I was single, didn't have money doing it, you take the lampshade off of a lamp. I
Some good
promise
light.
you it works.
It does. It does.
It works. Put it behind your camera and you will look beautiful.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's great. I mean, because I think some people get intimidated because they think if I don't have all the stuff, then I can't do it. But you start
Yeah.
where you are, because really, I've seen some, and I know you have, I've seen some people that get online and their video is not great and their lighting is not great, but they're engaging, their content is problem solving, people want to show up, they feel connected to them. And it works. The main thing is that the content is there, and then you build out the other stuff as you can, as you
The
can.
content's there and your truth. Listen, because people can sniff it out.
Yeah.
They can.
Thank
They
you.
can. If you're trying to be someone you're not, I mean, we've all seen people like that. And it's like, please stop. Just whatever it is, that's not it. You know,
So for the person who maybe was not actually doing any ministry themselves in person or online, because the thing I know for many pastors' wives is some of them are the face of their women's ministry, some of them are not. There's someone else who's over that. And so even though they have not been the face of the ministry, there's still a looking to them as the pastor's wife to give direction. So when you think about that, so if I'm a pastor's wife and I'm not going to be the person that's going to get online. I wasn't leading it before, but I'm having to give direction, encourage, shepherd, pastor, lead women who are. What would you say to that pastor's wife who needs to speak into it and encourage it, but is not going to do it?
great. And I looked up most of the profiles. I stalked most of the ladies who said they were interested in this. So there are a couple of things. First, you need to make sure I wanted to serve you. So you need to make sure that when I go to your page, that I know that you're in ministry. Even if you just have a link, so glad you're here. Here's the page, and you have a graphic. So that's the first thing, that when people see you, because you are a very important person in the ministry, they should be able to easily go and get help and know where your group is or your church website. Hopefully you guys are online. And so the other thing though, if you're directing someone and it's not you, the saved acronym, you want to make sure that that's in alignment with the vision set for the church. So if it's not your things you enjoy, then it's the mission of the church, to make sure it's the alignment of that. Our mission, my husband's very passionate about the homeless. And so, whatever focus you're going to have online, I would say then if you're giving direction, then it's aligned very well with the vision of the church.
That's right. That's right. Because it becomes really hard if you're out there on your own and the church is not a part of the church's vision.
We want to be we
We
want to
want to
be in
be obedient.
alignment.
We want to be in alignment. We do. We do. We do. Okay. I've
Easy
got a
said, right.
question from Chantel. And I love this. She said, how do we keep connected with those who are not willing, or maybe they just are feeling just as nervous as we are about doing it. But those who are not willing to be a part of technology, basically some of the senior saints, that's what she said, the senior saints. So if they're not, that's not their wheelhouse, what can you do to connect apart from the Facebook? Or if all we've got is online, but they won't go online, then what do we do?
Great question. So you have software like Zoom, and that's Zoom, and they have a free version where you can get 45 minutes of time like this. And what that allows you to do is they will call in, and you can all see each other or not. They could literally just be on the phone,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and it will be tiled across your screen like the Brady Bunch, if you guys remember that. And so they can still all talk.
Yeah.
And so I've had people to play Bible bingo with their seniors,
Oh,
to
that's
talk
fun.
about what was going on when you were a child. Like we all love to go back in time to a great time in their life. So challenge them to lead something of, you know, that they enjoyed during their time. We did the other night like hymns that our grandparents used to love. And so the seniors love that because that takes them back to their heyday. So there's a way to engage them. Zoom is one, and you can never forget just old school picking up the phone.
Yeah, 100%. But I love what you said about Zoom, because our daytime women's Bible study, we typically have about 100 and on a low day 150, normally about 175, 180 women who come. And so we got them all on Zoom. And one of the leaders at the table, she said, listen, my women are like, I'm not doing that. I don't want to get on there. I don't want, I don't have all that. But the cool thing with Zoom was the same thing that some people are watching, some people are just listening to. So I said, that's
Yeah,
fine. Just use
yeah,
their phone. They can just call in and they can listen. They can hear the lesson. They can hear the announcements. They can hear some of the fun. And hopefully that'll encourage them to want to try to actually do it. But that way you're not having to do something separate, because a lot of people are like, we're going to do this online with this group and then we're going to do this on the phone with this group. But
no,
Zoom allows you to have some people call in to the same thing that other people are watching. So that's been really great. It's been really great
yeah.
for us.
And another thing is Zoom has breakout rooms. They've upgraded their software. And so what you can do is have, especially if you have a group like you just mentioned, over 100 people, you could have a breakout room of groups of 10 and send people to their breakouts and have just a discussion of one thing. And then that breakout choose a leader, someone who's going to speak for the group when you come back to the large group. So that's another way to engage.
It's so good, so good. Um, I have a quick question about that, because when you bring on 30 or 40 women, even 20 women in a Zoom call, everybody talking at the same time can be a little tricky. So is that what you're saying? In that situation, you recommend that people talk in their smaller groups and then come back with an elected person?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
right. You have, like for 20, you have four groups of five. Each one elects a speaker, to speak for the group, and you come back. And then you've created another layer of intimacy with the five people and then you randomly choose who the breakouts are.
Oh, so you're forcing
So,
them to get to know other people.
exactly. And Zoom lets you do that as the leader.
That's
So,
great.
and they can still just do that on the phone.
Now, I do want to say too, I believe that Zoom got rid of their time limit recently. They're letting people
Oh,
just stay on,
oh, there
because
you go.
that's their contribution to our coronavirus season. They're like, we know y'all are all on here, so just use it and do what you need to do. So that's great.
Yeah. And even the paid version, the breakout rooms used to be even more expensive, and they're not now. So,
Yeah, that's great. Any other technological recommendations?
um, I think that's it. I think the rest is just mindset. It's knowing that it's not about us, how we look. It's the word. It always has been, and it's okay that you're enough as is, and it's okay to be a beginner.
That's great. That's so great. So great. Any closing thoughts that you want to mention? We actually had one more question, actually, just saw that come up. Tori said, how do you get your women to buy into an online program? So, yes, we can keep connected by calling them or inviting them to join the Zoom call, but how do you get them to buy in? If you're giving them the pain point and you're saying, here's what we're going to do, but they just are afraid of the technology or don't want to, like, are, are there any ways that you've learned encourage people to do it when they wouldn't normally? Any ways to strongly encourage, especially for those who are steeped in traditional settings?
Right. I always go back to the word. And so you convict these people by saying that we have to be online, we have to be in fellowship with like-minded people.
Mm-hmm.
And the pain point of their level of commitment to their growth, you can ask
That's
them,
good.
if I need you, we need each other.
That's
We're the
good.
body. And so you make it less about joining you and more about them. That I don't want you out there separated.
That's good. That's good. You can always throw the scripture on them. Do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together. And the Bible didn't say how you were supposed to assemble.
No, that's exactly right. And we all know there's something that happens collectively.
There sure is. There sure is. Well, I know
Hmm.
that we've experienced that firsthand at our church, and we're doing a lot to roll out small groups and get things that weren't online. And we were not online. Our services were not online.
Mm,
Groups were not online. So,
mm.
many of you who are saying, well, people who are at bigger churches can do this. Well, no, we have a big church and we were not doing all these things. So online services, we learned how to do. Small groups online, we've learned how to do. And so that means that anybody can learn that. Anybody can learn that. Any closing thoughts?
I would just say to be encouraged by this, to see this as an opportunity to spread the gospel, that's always been our mission. There are over 2 billion people online. How can we afford to not be the light and to bring the gospel? So always keep that in mind. Whatever, is tripping you up about this, know that there are people who need to hear from you, who will not like my voice, who may not like Crystal's voice, but they want your voice.
That's right. That's
I
right.
mean, that we all have a place. We all have a ministry of 10 right now. Okay.
We do.
Everybody.
We do. We do. We do. We do. It's so great. Thank you so, so much for joining me, you all. And if you want to know more about Miss Cledra Gross, you can go to her website, Cledra, CLEDRA.com, and learn more about what she is passionate about and what she is doing online. We hope that this has been super helpful for you. And then there are a couple of closing announcements that I want to make. If you are not on the mailing list for Pastors' Wives, I want you right after this, after we finish this, to go to loisevans.org/newsletter and join the newsletter so that when things like this are happening, you get the information and you don't miss it. That's the easiest way, one of the best ways to communicate with you is to just drop something specifically for you in your inbox. And if you join the newsletter, then that makes that possible. Also, on that newsletter, there's a monthly email devotional from the Lois Evans archives and other resources to equip and empower you in your calling as a pastor's wife. The other thing that I want you to do, if you are not already doing it, is to make sure you are following the Pastors' Wives Ministry on Instagram. There is encouragement there for you. There is a community there for you as well. And while we know many of you are loyal to your Facebook fam, Facebook is wonderful, but Instagram is another great platform with different content if you want to stay connected and to stay encouraged. And you can simply find the Pastors' Wives Ministry there, and that is the handle for the Instagram, Pastors' Wives Ministry. If you search that on Instagram, you will find it. And there's weekly encouragement there to feed your soul. And a Monday motivational series is launching soon, and we're really, really, really excited about that. The question became, how do we continue what Mom was doing? Because y'all know, if you followed her on Instagram, every morning she would post this morning motivation and just a morning word. And I miss that. I miss that. But one of the things I know she would want us to continue to do is what we've always done on the Pastors' Wives Ministry, and that's to encourage you. And there'll be some special encouragement that you will not want to miss. So make sure you check that out. If you have any questions, any areas in which we can support you, I want you to feel free to email us at pastorswives I'm sorry, PWM, like for Pastors Wives Ministry, PWM at TonyEvans.org. And I'll put that on the screen for you so that you don't miss that. PWM at TonyEvans.org. And that way, if there were questions that didn't get answered or there are additional ways in which we can serve you, you can let us know. Thank you again, Cledra, for joining me. This was great, great information. And I know that there's so much to learn, but we're all learning. We're all learning. Because listen, you guys, and I know, Cledra, you can attest to this, that as soon as you think you have it down, it will change.
It changes. Yes. Yes.
So the
Yes.
good news is no matter where you are not behind, because we all have to keep learning and keep growing. And that's the beauty of this. We all have the opportunity in this season to learn something new, to do something that we didn't know how to do before, and to minister to God's people in the process. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a good evening. Thanks for bearing with us with our technical difficulties, but we hope this has been helpful to you.